the Vloggers. Today is season 4, episode 8. Our host this evening, as always, we got Curtis James.
Hey.
Me for the most part. I am Chase, aka Viking Redbeard.
You missed what? 2 episodes?
This split, yeah. Or I think I've only missed 1, but I will be missing. No, I won't because we're moving.
Yeah. I think you've missed 2 like ever.
Yeah, I try not to miss. And then we also have beer with us, which is
as always
best part of the night.
It's not my company.
Yes.
Of course it is.
We'll go with that.
That's what I meant all along.
That being said, we did get to watch 10 matches this weekend.
Again. Keeps happening.
It's crazy. The first talking point I want to get into is my picks for this weekend. They were beyond atrocious.
Yeah, we do our predictions every week, and we've both been above 50 like all season, except maybe week 1. And I'm almost to 60. I'm at like 58 something now. And you fell below 50 actually.
I didn't even look because it made me really sad.
Well, I have to plug them in so I see them as it happens.
So of the 10 matches, I correctly picked 1 match correctly. Day 1 missed all 4. Day 2, like I wasn't trying to throw, but I was trying to like I don't know.
There were so many upsets on Saturday that you're like, well, there'll be some on Sunday.
Yeah, I was thinking, I missed all of my ones because they were fucking upsets on Saturday. Yeah. And then Sunday, I'm like, it's the weekend of the upsets. And then I missed all 4 of those too, because none of the upsets happened.
And then on Monday,
I tried to throw. I tried to do the unperfect week of 0-10, and I picked Immortals winning over Team Liquid, thinking Team Liquid should be able to demolish Immortals. And Team Liquid just sucked so bad.
Yeah, they did. Oh, man. You know, to this day, I believe we still only have one 10-0 weekend. And do you remember who it was?
Zane. It was Shelby, aka
yes!
Zane.
It was Shelby picking for Zane because he was away with her on vacation, like a wedding or some shit.
Yep.
And Shelby has our only 10-0 weekend. Fucking
picks, why are you so garbage?
Yeah, now on the season, I'm at 58.5 and you're at 48.5. Because last week you were 55 even yet, and you dropped all the way to 48.5.
So that leads me into the real first talking point, which is Team Liquid. What is going on with Team Liquid right now?
Oh my god.
So Saturday, Doublelift was benched, and we come into Monday, and he's like, I'm back, guys. I got this.
So, okay, here's the thing. Last week, Doublelift was sick, right? Mm-hmm. Tactical played. They went 2-0, beating TSM and 100 Thieves. Important wins for them to pick up, especially the TSM one, right? Mm-hmm. Or, I guess that's the bigger win. The 100 Thieves is probably more important just because they're closer with them in the standings now. But after that weekend, they were closer to TSM. It's, the soup. But yeah, those are good wins. And then they roll into this weekend, and they're like, well, Tactical did well. Doublelift needs motivation, so he's benched. We're going to look at it on the way TL apparently phrased it was that we're going to look into it on a week-to-week basis. Who should play, Doublelift or Tactical? And they go in on Saturday, and they play CLG, and they get fucking stomped. I mean, I guess it's not a stump, but they lost, and they didn't look good losing. CLG with their own replacement bot laner, Wind playing instead of Stixay, under discussed, and then Pobelder, who's looked to have brought that team back into a resurgence since he joined as their mid laner. I mean, Pobelder's played 3 weeks, I think, now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they went 0-2 his first week, which was Cloud9 and FlyQuest, and then they've beaten TSM, and Liquid lost to Immortals and EG. Like, they're looking way better right now compared to what they did, where they had only won 1 game all split before that. But yeah, like, they lose to CLG, and I feel like Liquid's management looked at the standings. They still care right now more about making playoffs than fixing that team. And I feel like that's a lot of teams right now, and it kind of bothers me. Especially, and I get it, for Liquid, you are the 4-time champion. There's something important about being the 5th champion and making it back to MSI, getting that international experience with Broxa, on the squad, all that shit. But your team is busted right now. You said you're going to look at week to week. It ends up being day to day, and you're like, oh, we lost to CLG. Tactical's back out. Double Lift's back in. And I think you said that what you think Double Lift just went, I'm better now, guys.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Double Lift, I think the team was like, okay, Double Lift, we're going to put this on you. When do you feel comfortable coming back in? And it was fucking day 2 of the day, like the first day he was benched.
Yeah.
And I'm
like asking a 4-year-old when timeout should be over.
Yeah. I was like, really? Like, it's the most ridiculous bullshit that I've seen from this team ever. Like, Peter is not ready to play right now. He is still looking like crap. Like, the team around him is floundering. Like, losing to CLG and Immortals in the same weekend? Like, your Team Liquid. Like, the owners, or not the owner, the CEO, Liquid, Steve came out, and, like, he did, like, this big, like, 20-30 minute interview before their match on Monday, and he was talking about how, like, Peter was feeling much better, he was motivated, he was ready to come in and do this, like, they're ready to come in and win Worlds, or to come in and win the split.
Okay.
And, sorry, I got ahead of myself. Win the split, and then, like, go into next year and take the title.
Don't worry, so did they.
And I was just like, who's making this call? Like, why are you letting him come back out after literally sitting out one game?
Yeah.
Like...
Well, and you know what? It puts the team in a really rough spot. The loss to CLG sucks just for your record, but the loss to Immortals is rough. Because right now, you're looking at... TL's tied for 7th, right? So the 3 teams directly one game in front of them holding playoff spots are Immortals, Evil Geniuses, and 100 Thieves. They split with 100 Thieves. They lost their first game to Evil Geniuses. That's their next game upcoming. And they have now lost both games to Immortals. So guess who you don't own a tiebreaker over? If you tie Immortals for 6th, they go to playoffs and you don't.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up because that's so ridiculous for them.
And, that's probably why management was like, well, we have to play Double Lift. You know what? No, you don't. Right now, this team needs to figure out the basics, and you're going to figure out the basics better with Peter on the bench. Like... he is one of the best players on your team of superstars. Don't get me wrong. He is the best all-time marksman, AD carry, whatever you want to call it, in the history of NA. One of the best in the world. Like, you don't last as long and do as many things as he has if you're not amazing.
Yeah.
But right now, he needs to chill out, and the team as a whole needs to focus on fundamentals without him. Because the only person I've seen carrying their weight all year has been Jensen. Brox has had some good games since he finally got here. He's had a few off. Like, I don't think he's looked terrible any. Impact did not look good on Zach. I don't know. I get where the draft was going with
Zach
that.
Pick was just so stupid.
But I didn't like it.
Every time I see Zach that's not in the jungle, and even when I do see Zach in the jungle, I'm like, I don't like Zach. He's not fun to play. He's not fun to watch.
He can be fun to play. When you get ahead, he's unkillable. It's a riot.
Fair enough. It's just like watching them flounder with Zach.
Yeah.
Watching a little Zach run around on the map. I'm like, oh, you're a little baby.
I love that so much, too. That's a lot of fun when you run away with like 50 health and you're like, run! But no, what I don't like about that draft is not like, oh, is the Zach good or bad? It's that your team has other issues. Draft is not your problem. Don't add draft to a list of possible problems, whether that was good or bad. Draft comfort, like you did when Broxiverse showed up, and just play what you used to. I want to see Jensen on Orianna, or Syndra, or Zillion, or something like that. Put Broxa on Lee Sin, or Sejuani, or, whatever he's comfortable with. Put Impact on Aatrox, Gangplank if you want aggressive. If you don't want aggressive, guess what? There's a billion frickin' tanks he can run up there, even though those are somewhat out of meta right now. Like, why are you fucking with shit right now?
It just feels like they are trying to run before they've learned to walk as a team.
Oh, absolutely.
And like they're just doing nothing but tripping over their own feet. Like every single game, they've made decisions that I just don't understand. Like Peter Senna, fucking every game for the first 4 weeks, like ridiculous.
Yep, they keep trying to do things that maybe they're working in scrims, but teams have said for years that scrims don't reflect on stage. And at some point, it feels like Team Liquid needs to find this this spot to look at and say, okay, this is what's happening in scrims. Don't give a fuck. Let's look at stats of scrims, and let's look at the whole of on stage. And whatever stats we can, that line up from scrims with the whole of on stage, focus on those. Because right now, the on stage isn't good. I mean, they're under 500. They've got 4 games left to go. And guess what? 2 of those games are FlyQuest and Cloud9.
Yeah, this looks like a pretty big uphill battle for them to try to make playoffs at this point. And like you mentioned earlier, losing the head-to-head against Immortals, that's
huge.
That's really bad for them.
Because Immortals definitely look like a team that might settle in right at 6th. And, 2 weeks ago, I was saying with this Liquid team, I'm like, man, they look like they're starting to mesh now with Broxa. He's gotten over his, being tired. This team could be scary, especially after last week, not this most recent one. I'm like, this team could be scary in Week 9. It'll be really interesting to see if against FlyQuest and Cloud9, they can put up or shut up. And right now, I'm like, nah, they're going 0-2 that week.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they were able to take down both TSM and 100 Thieves last week and then couldn't take down CLG or Immortals this week, it's just like, what are you guys doing off the field right now?
Yeah.
And I know that they were a team that played on Saturday and then again on Monday. I'm still interested to see what those stats are based on...
I think it's only been another 2 weeks, so we'll have to go update. We'll look at it again after Week 8. Remind me.
Does losing your day 1, having a day off to just kind of sulk, and then coming in on day 3 and just underperforming,
Oh, yeah. Well, it gave them a day off to make a decision to swap the person they said was on the bench. So, that happened. I've got to ask, they've got Evil Geniuses and Golden Guardians next week. We've seen teams under 500 make the playoffs, but it's not common. Right now with Cloud9 handing people so many losses, that's not unlikely though, I'd say, or it's more likely than usual. So TL has FlyQuest and Cloud9 the last week. Let's ignore that. Evil Geniuses and Golden Guardians though. That's their upcoming ones. Those teams are both tied with them right now at 6-8. Or I'm sorry, Evil Genius is ahead of them, 7-7. And they lost to them the first time, so that could be another tiebreaker. They go down. And Golden Guardians also beat them the first time around, so that could be another tiebreaker in case Golden Guardians makes a run. Do they have to win one of those games or both of those games to make the playoffs? What are you putting as the threshold? They need 1 or 2 wins.
They have to win both of them because if they lose the head-to-head against both Evil Geniuses as well as Golden Guardians, where do they land? Because if you're getting these bubble teams where everyone's kind of all landing around 4, 5, 6 with the same amount of wins and losses, and you have Team Liquid in that soup, if you will, as well, but they've lost the head-to-head against everyone else, they're going to be done if they can't pull off 2 wins this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't win either of these games, they're done. They're just flat done.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any coming back from being 6-10 with FlyQuest Cloud. Because even if you win those somehow 8-10, I doubt you're making it. And I think, like you said, those head-to-heads matter more than anything. I think Liquid's best hope right now is that they have a couple broken ones like 100 Thieves and Dignitas, and then there's a 4-way tie where one of those other teams is in there with Liquid. And it's I guess we have to play head-to-head tiebreakers, and they get away with it.
Yeah.
But would it not be the most punishing thing in the world? Say Team Liquid loses next week, both games, wins the final week somehow, and then they are in a tiebreaker with EG, GG, and IMT for 6th. I don't know the rules for sure, but I would assume since they lost the head-to-head against all 3 of those teams, they should be automatically booted out of the tiebreaker, and those 3 would handle it.
Yeah.
That's how that should work. I don't think that's how it does, but goddamn, that's how it should.
Yeah, it's just... Team Liquid's just... I don't even know what's going on with their organization right now. They've got buku bucks, and they've got all the talent in the world. Yeah. They've got most
It's an all-star team. They have an all-star team. They have an absolute all-star team. They have 2 world champions on their squad. They have they have 2 world semifinalists on their squad, and they have Double Lift, who is the best North American AD carry ever. Yeah. Oh, and that team is sub 500. And I said earlier, there's a chat in the Discord about it. I say it's one part the meta's not good for them. And that goes back to the Senna stuff mostly. They're trying to do Senna, and also the meta's at least the winning meta in North America, from the one team that's crushing everyone, is fast-paced aggression, and that's never been Liquid's strong suit. Never been Impact's strong suit. In Broxa, he gets first blood a lot, but he doesn't pressure that a lot. It seemed it was usually Reckless or Caps pressuring that back when Caps was still on Fnatic. Anyway, the meta. So it's one part that. What I say, it was 2 parts. Oh my god, I don't remember.
I can probably pull it up.
One part the meta, 2-part motivation, and I think Impact never really goes hard in spring. It kind of feels like, and then obviously Double Lifts is most of that, and then 3 parts switching the roster constantly. To start the season, totally not their fault. That they started with Churnfire, but then they got Broxa, and then they benched Double Lift, and the Double Lift was sick, and then they benched him for a day, and then they unbenched him immediately after. It's dude, just fucking play a roster.
Yeah, having to have your character, having to have your teammates constantly try to work around whoever might be playing that day, that's rough because Tactical and Double Lift, they're not the same person. They don't play the same.
Yeah. They
don't communicate the same over comms. So I imagine that Peter's probably one of the shot callers on that team. And if you're...
I'm sure he has a voice. He's a veteran player, yeah.
Exactly. Maybe not the shot caller, but yeah, he's going to have a say in what's going on. And if, every game you're oh, shit, who am I playing with today? Oh, not Double Lift. Okay, who do I listen to?
Yeah. Well, let's go from a team that looked good last week and looked floundering this week to a team that did the opposite. They looked floundering last week, losing, oddly enough, to Liquid and CLG. And this week, taking giving their first loss to Cloud9 and also beating FlyQuest, the number 2 team at the time. TSM showing up this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, their reign of all or nothing on their weekends continues.
Yeah, they went 0-2, 2-0, 2-0, 0-2, 2-0, 0-2, 2-0. This team is nothing if not inconsistent. They're consistently inconsistent.
Yeah. Their matches, they looked good during Cloud9. They looked good during FlyQuest. Mm-hmm. They just kind of did what they needed to do. I don't think they particularly honestly, I'm faulting Cloud9 a little bit more than I'm praising TSM. Cloud9 with their Shen top, I wasn't a fan of that.
I think Cloud9, maybe a little prematurely, but I'm okay with it, entered the let's experiment a bit phase, and that's what that Shen top was. I mean, we'll talk about the draft. We saw them on the second day, or on Monday, that was also pretty experimental. I think from here on out, we just see them doing shit.
Yeah.
And the Shen did not work out. No.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that Shen was the sole reason why they lost, but it certainly didn't help.
Yeah. TSM played around that pick very well, though. They went... It's always the thing you do as a professional team. You go to the global, because then they can't global away. You go to the Shen, because the Shen can't ult onto himself and make it 2 Shens. What the fuck? No, you go to the Shen and you kill him, and you keep doing that. And they did that well. Now, the thing I would blame Cloud9 about, and not so much the Shen, and the same thing I blame FlyQuest, they both let TSM have set.
Yeah.
Broken Blade, while he's looked good all season, has looked ridiculous on set. And again, in the Cloud9 game, I also want to give absolute credit to Bjergsen's Zillion. His Zillion was fantastic. He was this close to getting shut down in the mid lane, which I think could have shifted that game a lot. Instead, he lives, and Cloud9 never recovers that gold lead, or the gold deficit. But the set, I pulled up the stats of the set. It's slightly different now, because these were the stats that were shown when Cloud9 picked him against Golden Guardians. He has been picked 38% of the time, banned 45% of the time, so pretty high pick ban. We're talking 93%, well, 94 because of the decimals.
Yep.
His win rate, 73%. Oh, and then Cloud9 won with him, so it's higher now. He wins almost 3/4 of his games, and that includes teams grabbing him and shitting the bed with him, which we also saw this week, because it's well, you're a bad team. But a good team with this champion generally wins, well over half the time. So, it's just, I don't know why FlyQuest let them have it after watching what happened with Cloud9. I get Cloud9 probably testing their limits to a point. I mean, because then we saw Cloud9 played against Golden Guardians, and it was absolutely gross there too. Like, Set's a straight 1v4 player or character. Yeah. Like, if he gets ahead at all.
His ults are ridiculous. Like, his ults can grab everyone around him and just fuck everyone.
Yeah, well, and like the thing about his ult, which we saw Cloud9, we'll come back to it, but real quick, I mean, because we saw it also in the TSM Cloud9 game, is even if your AD carry is positioned well away, like, he just ults one of the tanks, which dashes him most of the way back to you, and then he walks forward with his Q for the speed up, or he flashes it if he has to, does his E that slams people together, E or his W, slams people together, so now your AD carry's stunned, and then he's just going to throw his massive true damage shot at them, and they're dead. Yeah. Like, he can get to the back line pretty much no matter what, and that's why it's so rough.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not played Set, I've not played against Set. Like, I've played very few matches this split. And so I don't know how that feels personally, but, like, when you've got a character that can make that much of an impact, like, you should be trying to do a little bit more to keep that away from players like Broken Blade. Like, he looked so good on it.
Like, I'm fine with Cloud9 letting him through. I'm disappointed in FlyQuest. Especially because FlyQuest had first pick that game and they picked Aphelios. It's like, you know Aphelios can't get away if there's a Set, right? Like, come on, man. So, but, I mean, kudos to TSM. I just still have my reservations about how good they actually are overall. I think they're a top 3-4 team, easily. I don't know that I think they're better than FlyQuest in a best of 5.
FlyQuest has been looking pretty good. I mean, with the exception of this weekend, losing to both EG and TSM.
Yeah, the loss to EG was bad.
They have looked like a very good team all split.
They're tied with TSM in the standings, 8-6 each. They're out schedules. TSM has Immortals, Golden Guardians, 100 Thieves, and Dignitas. FlyQuest has Immortals, 100 Thieves, so those two match. Golden Guardians also matches Team Liquid. Who do you trust more on this out schedule to grab that second seed and the remaining bye? Because I don't think any team's going to surpass these two. Yeah,
it'd be pretty hard at this point.
I mean, the other teams are only a game back, but I just think these two are better.
Yeah, I mean, as long as FlyQuest isn't losing games to Immortals, 100 Thieves, or Golden Guardians.
Yep.
I mean, I should say Team Liquid as well. Like, I mean, Team Liquid has looked so bad that, like, it's really hard to compare
They'll be good that one game and fuck FlyQuest out of the bye. That's what'll happen.
Yeah, that is probably what will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really crazy how things are starting to shake out. I know that we only have one team that's currently locked in.
And they are locked into the first seed.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. And everything else is kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah. I mean, do you have a thought? Who do you think is actually better right now, TSM or FlyQuest? I personally, I think in a best of 5, I slightly take FlyQuest. I go like 3-2 FlyQuest right now. I think TSM's highs are higher, but I've also seen them just do some weird shit that doesn't work.
I want to lean into TSM being slightly better, just because historically speaking, they have been the more consistently better team. And so they always kind of shake out at the top. It doesn't really matter how they look. Like, their losses that they have, they still look better than some of the other teams' losses. So,
right.
Yeah. I'm going to give TSM a slight edge there, but it's very, very close.
All right. Well, let's jump over because we keep getting pulled in that direction anyway. Cloud9 undefeated season is over. Their loss to TSM actually stopped them at the 13-0. 14-0 is the record TSM set for the longest streak without losing back in 2016. So the TSM 14-0 record still stands. They went 14-1. Cloud9 went 13-1, but they are now 13. I'm sorry. They're 13-1. They went 12-1 or whatever. Yeah, that's what it was. So they went 12-1. TSM stopped them from making it to 14, even 13. But they are 13-1. 4 games to go. Locked in. They have first seed, and I think they're gonna show some neat stuff over the rest of the split. Because even the TSM game, the Shen was a bit neat. Like they were trying something there. The Golden Guardians game, they busted out the Talia Pantheon, which was and Syndra bot lane for Sven. Syndra Pike bot lane, but it was the Talia Pantheon was so much fun to watch. Like, bot lanes engaging a fight, and it's like, oh, they're barely out for their turret. And all of a sudden, you see Talia walk up, and then Pantheon flies, and it's just like, oh shit, there are 4 people on us, and we haven't quite stepped back into our own turret range yet.
Yeah, they were just dunking on Golden Guardians that game. Like, they made them look real silly. Like, watching them get caught out between their 2 turrets, like, just flying across the map
they
at him.
like, double turret dove him. He was, like, back behind his tier 2 safely, and it was like, nah, fuck it, we're going for this shit.
Yeah. Like, Golden Guardians, they beat Dignitas day 1. Cloud9 made them look real silly. But, I mean, that's just what Cloud9 does. It's really hard to disrespect Golden Guardians too much on that, because we know that they're not the better team there.
Yeah.
I saw a post on Reddit. It was just like, God, I wish I could be Huni. Just come in every weekend, inch my ass off, still collect a paycheck. Everyone's like, you're doing a good job, man.
I don't know if it was you or somebody else mentioned that to me already. I think they said it was, Oh no, I think it was one of the guys in DGA said it. And I believe they said it was, what's his name? He used to be a pro jungler. I Will Dominate.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's who it was.
It was Dom who said it. Dom's a twat, so whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, he's not right, but he's also not wrong.
Yeah,
Like, the fact that Huni is paid what Huni is paid is so much, like, them looking at him as a name to carry the brand, and I get that. As a company who wants to sell merch and have fans and all that shit, you need something like that. But holy shit, does his performance on the Rift not back up the amount of money he makes by any means.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Huni. I think he's a swell player.
Yeah, you're a Huni fan.
But yeah, sorry, I switched to TikToks for a second. I was talking about GG. GG looked pretty okay. In their game against Dignitas, sorry, that's why I brought up Dig. And then yeah, Cloud9 made them look goofy. I kind of felt bad for him because I was like, they're memeing on you real hard.
I'm excited to see what else they have, because I don't know if anybody watched the Bud Light League Lounge thing afterwards.
No.
I watched it. I think they're entertaining, and actually it was Niski and Licorice. It was a pretty good one, actually. I think most of them were actually decent. I should say that, but this one was better. And partly just because of who you have involved. They're both very outgoing personalities. They're on a winning team. They had won that day. The last couple weeks had been a team who had lost, unfortunately. But it came up that there's something about a rock, paper, scissors match between Licorice and Niski. And I guess the purpose behind that was them determining if a certain set of circumstances happen in draft, there's 2 different drafts they have prepared. One, which is a top laner who will just get, like, crapped on, and the team's going to deal with that. And one where the mid laner's really good, but it's a boring one to play. And so Licorice's vote was for the boring mid laner, and Niski's vote was for, like, the top laner who would get just dunked on. And Licorice won that. So, but, like, and the comp didn't come up, they said. But yeah, like, they've got at least, like, 1 or 2, like, fun comps that are just like, yeah, we want to try this if the situation presents itself, like, based off the first 3 bans sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see some shit pop out, because it reminds me of back when Licorice in playoffs was like, I'm going to play Aatrox game 1. And then game 2, TSM's like, I want the Aatrox. And he's like, pony time! And just shit on Aatrox with Hecarim. Yeah. Like, where they just have this shit prepared. And I want to see that in the regular season, because it's a ton of fun to watch. I mean, Pantheon Talia already. That was a lot of fun. I want more of that. Because when a team's playing at the level they are above their competition, they should absolutely be doing that. They've got 4 games to just fucking run wild with, and that's all I want to see from here on out from them, is testing their limits.
So, not that I necessarily agree with it, but it could possibly be kind of looked upon that way. You're kind of almost in the realm of, like, match fixing a little bit at that point, if you're memeing so hard that you're picking shit that you know you're not going to win on.
Well, I don't think they're looking to not win. Like, it's like Talia Pantheon, where we need to crush them early and never let pressure. Because think about that comp if it went to mid-game. You don't have a marksman.
Yeah.
Where's your persistent damage coming from? Nowhere. So they had to go in early and crush. Like, their persistent damage, quote unquote, is set.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, that comp has a very narrow win condition, and it's like crush early, crush everywhere, keep crushing. And I think they have a lot of things like that, where it's like, hey, let's see if we can pull this out, because their comp can't stop it.
It just seems like a kind of like a pretty fine line between, because like if they're if not throwing, but if they're losing these matches based on like their draft, like
I mean,
they
kind of lost because of Shen. I mean, Grant, TSM had to play around it appropriately, and Bjergsen had to play the Zillion well, which he did very well. But like that Shen ended up kind of losing them the game in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna feel a little bit bad, like if Cloud9 memes and loses to 100 Thieves CLG, EG, because they're kind of in the bubble right there that could possibly edge someone in or out.
You don't want them purposefully like losing. They shouldn't like not try hard against some teams and try hard against others. I agree with that. It's not they shouldn't go, well, it's CLG, so we're gonna pick this garbage comp. They should just ignore who they're playing and then just see the bans and the picks and go, oh, we can pull this out.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying that that's what they're going to do or that's even what has been happening. It's just like it's kind of a fine line between like you goofing around. Like, when does somebody have to step in and be like, maybe you should not play like that?
There's literal rules and fines available if it goes too far. So
yeah,
they won't push past that. They, as an organization, have no intentions of.
And then like
that.
alternate. Sorry, I'm gonna go on this little tangent for just a second. Like, how does Riot determine like what's too far? Because like for the most part, like they can play a lot of these characters in any lane and do fairly okay.
If you can't give a valid reason of what you were doing and be convincing with it, then good luck. That's where it starts pushing. Like, you can't be like, oh, I played Teemo AD carry with Ziggs support 'cause reasons. Like, they're not going to be like, yeah, that's fine. They'd be like, tell us why that works. Show us your scrims with it. Like, because, you know, we can look up your fucking scrim history. You've never played this once, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you think that they would pull historical data for their scrims?
Oh, if it got real bullshitty, yeah, Riot would investigate the hell out of it.
Okay. Then I don't feel so bad about it. But like, yeah, it just kind of like a weird fine line with them memeing around a little bit.
Yeah, the advantage Riot has is since they own the game, and any scrim, even like in-house scrim, is played just like on Tournament Realm in the client. Riot has access to everything.
Yeah.
Riot can pull up, if, you know, like, if you were to play a comp that you're like, well, we've played it before, and they, like, go look up your history, and it's like, oh, you're right, you played it 4 times, and you got 2 kills and gave up 17 every time you played it and lost in 23 minutes, they would still call shit on you. Because they'd be like, no, you very intentionally threw that game, because every time you've played it, you've gotten crushed, you know.
All right, so
yeah.
Sorry, I know I took us down like a weird little
there's
side.
There's an educational moment with that. It works.
Yeah, because yeah, like I said, it would feel real bad getting edged out because Cloud9 memed on you or memed on someone else and you still lost.
Oh yeah, no. How ridiculous of a cap to the season would it be if Liquid if they won, they're in. If they lose, they're out. Or won into, like, they went into a tiebreaker or something, and Cloud9 goes meme comp and still just crushes them.
I mean, with the way Team Liquid's been playing right now, I don't think that's wholly unrealistic.
Yeah, it'd be kind of a reasonable ending and just kind of sum up this split as a whole. There's one other team I really wanted to talk about a little bit. Ari did just a little earlier. CLG. Actually, I think 2 at the same time. CLG and Dignitas. CLG started their season off, 1-9, and they have now gone 2-2 in the 2 weeks since that. Total 2-4 with Pobelter, and 1-1 with Wind now in the bot lane instead of Stixxay. I feel a little bad for Stixxay. I think he's always been a pretty good player, but I think he's also struggled over the last 2-3 seasons and not just found his... Him and Afromu were really good together, and then him and Biofrost were fine. Or no. Yeah, him and Biofrost were fine last year, but like, I never feel like he's found his stride since Afromu went elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then the other team being Dignitas, who started off the split 3-0. 3-0, right?
Yeah.
And since then, they have gone 2-9.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
They've gone 2-9 in this, like, even if we just go to, like, week 4. Let's go to week 4 where they won that game, or we can even go just the back half of the split here or something like that. So the week 5 on those 5 games, they've lost all 5 of their back half games. CLG's won 2. Like,
yeah, I don't know what's going on with Dignitas. Like they're looking like they have given up, and
like it's so weird. One team that's we know should be worse is Rising, and Grand. They've made changes, and Dig made changes too. Now they brought in Acadian in the jungle, and that didn't fucking help, did it?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Dignitas right now. They, like you said, they had a pretty solid start, and then they just kind of didn't know what to do with themselves. Like, those first couple of weeks, like, you can tell who's got, like, true skill versus who's working together. Because, like, those first couple of weeks, I think, like, the real skilled players were shining,
Right.
but they weren't working as a team, so like they were 1v9ing everything.
Yeah, Hooney and Froggen and Greg were able to just run over everyone.
Yeah.
Greg Johnson and Afro Moon were good enough to continue to do that as well, but then once teams work together, it's like, Hooney and Froggen have to play with the team. Oh, okay, we're in trouble.
Yeah, and it's so weird, specifically with Dignitas having DeMonte sitting right behind Froggen.
Yep.
And DeMonte's so good.
The fact that they picked up Froggen to not start DeMonte, and I think they picked up Froggen, didn't sign DeMonte, and then DeMonte signed with them for Academy probably for way less than he would have had they picked him up as a starter. But it's just, like, they had the money. They sold Vulcan for a shitload of money.
Yeah, that's probably all going to Hooney, unfortunately.
Oh my, yeah. Like, that team had Cody, and I don't know how many people they would have been able to retain, even if they just jettisoned Hooney. But, like, if you jettison Hooney and, like, say, pick up, like, Lorlo or so, like, you had Solo and Lorlo, both, I think, last season. And you were starting Solo, I think, right? Or, no, they had Hooney. Duh, never mind.
Yeah.
Somebody else had Solo and Lorlo, or they had one of them. I don't know. I'm still going back to, like, Echo Fox days and shit.
Oh.
But no, you had DeMonte, Cody's son, Vulcan. Bro, like, I get it, you had Hooney, and then you also had Lyra. Ditch Lyra like you did. Get Greg and Acadian, great. Or one of them and someone else, I don't care. They would have not been able to get Johnson if it wasn't for getting rid of Vulcan, fine. If you could keep Cody's son Vulcan was good, DeMonte good, get a different jungler, different top laner, and build around that bottom half. That seems like a good idea, rather than building around your super expensive, super inconsistent top laner.
Yeah,
just because he's a fucking name.
Yeah, I mean, it's really sad considering that Clutch last year ended on such a high note, and then Dignitas started on, like, a pretty high note, and then they just kind of squandered it. They're like, meh, don't care anymore.
Yeah. I wonder how much they're also paying Afromu, too. Because I know that's another name.
I fucking hate Afromu.
But also, he hasn't succeeded in a while. I mean, it's been 2 whole years since he's been successful. Well, I guess he was successful spring split 2 years ago. So exactly 2 years ago was the last time he was successful. Was that also the split he got MVP when they made it to the final and got 3-0'd by Liquid, I think?
Something like that, yeah.
I think he got the MVP that split. But still, it's just like, what are you... As an organization, you're coming back in with the Dignitas name... And it blows my mind that your decision was like, oh, we need names to build around. Like, dude, you're Dignitas. You're one of the original Ors. Just play well. Keep 2 people from your championship squad or your world squad. Couldn't even do that. They kept 1. Kept 1 fucking name. Kept the most expensive name because it was the biggest name. The one who's been not the best over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I just don't know what's going on with the org right now. I hate Afromu. It's a little bittersweet knowing that Afromu's losing regardless of where he goes.
But it sucks to see, like, Johnson fails, because I think he's a really good AD carry prospect. He's a native North American. Like, if he was playing with Vulcan...
This is his rookie split. Like, he's going to come out of his rookie split with a terrible record, and he's not going to be able to go anywhere if he gets dropped from Dignitas.
I think other teams would realize that he's better. If he wasn't the only rookie this split, he would get rookie of the split. There has to be at least 3 for them to even vote on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just...
Although, I guess Wind has played now. I don't remember if you need 3 weeks or 3 games.
I'm not sure.
If you only need 3 games, all we need is 1 more sub, and we need 1 more sub and Wind to play through like the rest of the split, and then Johnson can win.
So it's Johnson, Tactical.
Tactical might have been a rookie. I don't know if he was. I think he.
Is
yeah, cause he was a sub for TSM during playoffs last year, but he didn't play. You're right. So he played 3 games. If it's only 3 games, Wind needs to play all of next week, and then Johnson can win rookie of the split.
Okay.
And it would be all AD carries.
I can dig it. Yeah.
I hope that's the case. I hope it's that they have to play 3 games. I don't remember if that's the case or not.
Yeah, I wish Dignitas would drop Afromu. Afromu needs to retire. If he doesn't retire after this year, I'm curious as to what's going to happen next split.
I like Froggen, but I don't think he's right. I think Huni is probably the thing that's holding you back, and not because of his skill, but because financially it really just pins you in a fucking corner. Because LCS is a lot like baseball, where there's not a salary cap. It's like, oh, you got the money, fucking spend it, go to town. Like, in the NBA or in NFL, it's, okay, well, you can only spend so much, and if you spend over that, you start paying penalties. And the idea is to keep teams who have a lot of money in line with teams who don't have a lot of money. Like, everybody can only spend so much money.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, in baseball for so long, you saw, like, the Yankees just, like, win and win and win. Because it was like, well, we have the most money, so we're just going to buy fucking everyone. And then when really, really next level metrics and stats and stuff came into vogue, that's when you got like Moneyball and people are like finding underpaid players and like, oh, their stats are really good and they work together as a team, they fill this hole, shit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like with a team like Liquid is the Yankees, where it's like, well, we just bought every fucking player and like,
but at least the Yankees could win.
Yeah, well, and Liquid did 2 full years.
That's true.
And then, but you're seeing Dignitas try to be the Yankees, but they're blowing their whole load on 1 player. It's like, yeah, that doesn't work. You only got 5 fucking...
It pains me to say this, like, because I love Huni, but he is washed up at this point. I have not ever liked Afromu. He is washed up at this point. They're literally paying for their names, and that is it.
I wonder what percentage of the total 5-man roster, not the 10, not the Academy included, the 5-man roster, what percentage of that total salary is Huni, and what percentage is Huni plus Afromu?
I'm going to say somewhere between 40 and 60% respectively, with and without Afro.
So you think Huni's 40% all on his own?
I think so.
I don't think that's insane. I think that's probably about right. I bet they're paying Froggen a decent amount. They're paying Afro more, I'm guessing, oddly. Because I think it's a name thing.
Yeah.
And then Johnson's probably getting paid next to nothing because he's a rookie. And Greg and Acadian, or, whichever one you want to take at any given time, they probably weren't given a whole lot of options offers elsewhere, so they're playing for pretty low too, I bet.
Yeah, I know that's how real life works, knowing that there are other people in your organization that make a lot more money than you do. But when you're all
But that's when they're above you.
Yeah. When you've got people like Huni and Afromu just continuously shitting the bed every year.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, Huni does have his highs occasionally.
Yeah, but Huni's he's not Faker. He's not LeBron James. He's not fucking, Steve Young. Like, unless you're carrying and have been carrying for some time, then what the fuck are you getting paid that amount of money still for?
Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And then, yeah, I bet Afromu is probably pulling like 20%, and then the other 40% split along the other 3 players.
Like, it even from a business standpoint, because I said it earlier, I'll say it again. I mean, we've been saying this whole time, you're paying for the name. And I get it, like, selling jerseys, getting fans interested, that kind of thing. But you're talking a cost-benefit analysis, you're talking return on investment, that kind of thing. Okay, there's a somewhat guaranteed, actually a better guaranteed return on investment for how much merch Huni will sell you just by having him on your team, right?
Sure.
But how much merch do you sell when you win? A lot. Now, granted, it's a much riskier investment to be like, well, what team allows us to win? But I feel like it's a smarter investment when you could probably buy a winning team, or what is likely to be a winning team, for less than this team.
Yeah.
Because even if that team's decent, you still got DeMonte, who is a rising name. You'd still have Vulcan, who I think was a rising name. I think he was undersold a lot of places. Cody Sun was a known name and probably going to continue to rise. Just DeMonte and Cody Sun alone, I think would sell you some merch. They're not going to be Hooney levels of merch, but they're also going to win you fucking 3 more games than he has so far in this godforsaken season.
Yeah. So, trying to sell Dignitas merch, like, I think their jerseys are god-awful. Like,
I'm really disappointed. They should have just done something that looks so much like their old school Dig jerseys, like from like 3 seasons ago.
I hate when they try to like reinvent themselves and they just do it very poorly. And you add camo anything on anything, and I'm gonna steer the fuck clear.
I thought the Cloud9 jerseys were camo at first, and I was like, ugh. And then I realized it was like a really subtle like cloud photograph, and I'm like, okay, that's better.
Like, I really don't like Team Liquid, but I would still rather buy a Team Liquid jersey than I would almost any other jersey.
Well, let's be honest, you just want that sick X-Men shit.
Dude, their merch is dope this year.
Well, yeah, they got the Marvel tie-in, man.
Exactly, yeah. Like, yeah, no, it's so cool. But
all right, so we've ranted on Dig forever. What about CLG, a team that's actually succeeding right now?
Are they?
Yeah, they've gone 2-2 over the last 2 weeks. They went 1-9 in the previous 5.
Weirdly, of their 3 wins, they've taken down TSM, Team Liquid, which it wouldn't have made sense week 1 or last year, but it weirdly makes sense now.
Well, and it didn't make sense when they beat TSM because TSM came off that 2-0 week that was like made them look so damn good.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with CLG.
But okay, I think the thing to say about them, like, obviously they're not a good team. Like, or I shouldn't say that they're not a good team. They're not going to make playoffs. They have no shot at playoffs, even though mathematically they still do. If they win out, other teams still have to lose for them to get in. It's not going to happen, and that's okay. But this team, this organization, is trying to do things to improve the team, and that's what I like. They said, you know what? Crown, it's not working. They brought in Pobelter. Pobelter, even though they went 0-2 to Cloud9 and FlyQuest, they're like, you know what? This already looks better, and they cut ties with Crown instantly. Like, I'm not a big fan of the fact, I assume that was mutual, where Crown's like, well, if I'm not going to start, I'm going back to Korea. And they're like, okay, well, let's, release you from your contract. I assume that's what happened. Obviously, no insider knowledge or anything. But I'm fine with that. I'm like, all right, you're making a decision, you're sticking with it, and you're doing something to improve the team. And then they were like, you know what? Let's make another change and see how that works. Let's bring in Wind instead of Stixay, because the bot lane hasn't been doing great. And Wind and Smoothie seem to work pretty well together. So maybe that's the next step in the right direction. Fuck, maybe in week 9 they'll bring in a different top laner for all I fucking know. But I just feel like this team is doing stuff and trying it and making the right decision. And they didn't go, Wind, lost game 1, which, I mean, he didn't. They beat Team Liquid. But, like, I fully expect they should start Wind all of week 8. I don't care if he loses both those games, start him all of that, and then if you want to bring Stixay back in, fine. Honestly, I think Stixay should ride the bench the rest of the split, not because Wind's necessarily better than Stixay, but because you have to fucking see it out. You can't double lift this shit and be like, well, you were sick for 2 days, and then we lost to CLG the next day when you were benched without you, so we brought you right the fuck back in to lose to Immortals.
Yeah.
Like, you just gotta do shit and try it. It goes back to, I think, Cloud9 really set the precedent when they benched a bunch of fucking, star North American players to be like, yeah, no, we're mixing shit up because these guys aren't getting it done. And granted, they ended up bringing most of them back in, but, like, Smoothie ended up not coming back for them. It stayed as Azazel. Sneaky did come back. Jensen did come back. Svenskeren came back, but we also learned of Blabber, and then eventually Blabber took that spot, a year and a half down the road. But you just gotta put people out, and you have to try it. Give it a fucking time to sink in. The same reason I don't think Dig should bench Acadian and bring Grig back in. It's the bullshit that TSM did that fucked their jungle position.
Yeah.
Like, just ride shit out and give it a shot. And it seems like right now CLG is doing that, and I pray they continue to do it because that's the smart way to build an organization back up.
Yeah, I feel so bad for Crown. Like, he's such a good player, and was put on Optic. Optic squandered him. He was put on Immortals for a hot
that
second.
top lane in Optic was so fucking garbage. He never stood a chance.
Like, Immortals squandered him. They put him on CLG. CLG squandered him. I was like, Crown was never the problem.
Crown never played for Immortals because Immortals just started this season. He was already on CLG because Optic became Immortals.
Okay, yeah, that sorry. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I was just
like the name changed over before he like shifted teams, but yeah.
And so it's just like I don't get. Okay, yeah. So it's just Optic and CLG, they quote unquote Immortals, like squandered him and his abilities.
Yeah.
And like he came to NA to do well because that's what you do. You come here to make money.
Right. He's a world champion.
And yeah, like if like it's just so surprising that like a better team didn't try to pick him up.
Yeah.
But whatever.
And so many players were high on him. They still, like, the guy is obviously still good. It's just the teams don't work well with him. So, for whatever reason. Whether that's on his side or their side, I don't know. And I have no reason to make a judgment on that. I think on Optic, it was that team not making the right moves around their top lane for way too long. Like, they did eventually bring in Meteos in the jungle, and that worked well. And I think that they played their bot lane thing wrong because I think Arrow plus Gate was the way to go. I don't remember. They never played the two together that I thought they should play.
Yeah.
And like Crown had some pop off games, but like half the time it was like, but will Dokla feed?
Yeah.
And yeah, he did more often than not. It felt like he was just such a liability. And it was, yeah, because I wanted them to play Gate and support, and instead they were playing Big. And
That's
Big
right.
was a giant liability, too. Like, yeah, he would have games where he had great Nautilus engages and stuff, but more often than not, he was just feeding a ton of gold to your opponent. Like, he's like, oh, I'm going to die for this engage, and we might go 3-1, but we also might just go 0-1, and I died, and you guys have to run. Like, and he'd be out of position. There's just too many things like that. And I felt like that's an example of a team that I felt didn't do what CLG's doing right now. Because I felt like it wouldn't be hard to recognize this player in top and this player in support tend to be struggling the hardest. Let's swap one of them out, go a week or two with that player, swap the other one out, go a week or two with that player, like, and then maybe swap back somewhere in there, whatever. Like, give the backups in those positions a week or two in the actual starting role, all the scrims, all, everything. Give them everything, all the support, and see how that works. And Optic was like, nah, this is fine. We might get 6th. It's like, no, that's not how you become a good team. And then,
yeah.
And luckily for them, they blew it all up. When they became Immortals, they became this completely new team, and this team is doing fine. Now, this team isn't great. It needs a lot of work still, but they're working with some like known pieces, Soaz and Xmithy, and some new pieces like Aka. Like, they're working on stuff, and that I'm fine with that. And since they're in the hunt right now, I don't expect them to change anything.
Yeah.
But oh man,
I mean, Immortals has like surprised me. They didn't do as well as I was kind of expecting, but they didn't do as bad either. They've been right in the middle.
Yeah, I think to start the season, I said there was 3 high volatility teams: Evil Geniuses, Immortals, and Dignitas.
Yeah. And I mean, having Xmithy on Immortals and having Immortals crush Team Liquid both games that they played them, like, Xmithy has to feel so good knowing that, like, they traded me for European talent and, like, just everything that could go wrong is going wrong with Team Liquid right now.
Yeah. Well, so we've gone through, most of the teams moving and shaking right now. There's 2 weeks left to go, 4 games. We've only got one team locked into playoffs. No team's technically locked out yet. I have a feeling we'll have 1 or 2 lockouts next week and 1 or 2 more lock-ins after next week. But do you have any thoughts before we call the close on week 7 or heading into week 8?
No, not really. I think that we're going to see TSM and FlyQuest lock in here soon, and then I have no idea what's going to happen in Pursuit.
I expect TSM and or FlyQuest. Well, one of them at least should lock in this week, maybe two. Just into playoffs in general.
Yeah.
I assume CLG will be locked out, and we may very well also see Dignitas locked out. They have CLG and EG ahead of them, so especially if CLG wins, and then if Evil Geniuses wins and Dig goes 0-2, I think both those teams will be locked out at that point at 5-11 and 4-12, because I doubt CLG will beat Cloud9.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, I guess that's about it. It's going to be, these next 2 weeks are going to be really interesting just because we have such a tight race for basically all the playoff spots. Like, 5 spots very much up for grabs. 3 of them very, very much up for grabs amongst, 5-6 teams. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. All right, well, that'll do it for episode 8 of League of Vloggers Season 4. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, cheers.